such an asshole.
Yeah, tired of son. Well, tired philosopher Cappy. Gotta bang a couple out before I enjoy the weekend here. The following is a very lengthy, emotional laden rant. That's all right. I charge more. Why don't I ever get a email that's like complimentary, invigorating, and I don't know, just positive? Dear Cappy, I'm a big-titted, redheaded MILF. I think you're great and amazing. Here's my question. By the way, I would totally bang you. Kiss, kiss, hugs, hugs. It's never that. I'd be like, I get $5 off for that. Put me in a good mood. I'm going to squeeze out my emotional tampon all over your face. That's all right. We're all hues. But for truth's sake, it simply must be said. The 2020 election of Biden and Harris and the events of 2021 and on have confirmed that the West is run by people who are completely criminally bat bleep insane and now potentially even genocidal. It was not enough that the radical liberals demonized, delegitimized, libeled, lied about, and threw just about every vile trick in the book against a legitimately elected, non-established president who put American sovereignty first and protected Christian rights. I think he was protecting other people's rights too. Ironically, you didn't know this about Trump. He was for gay rights. He was very pro or non-binary, I guess. But the media, you are right in that regard. The media just, don't you guys all, isn't it interesting how really milky toast people become public enemy number one when it's just the Republican who's nominated for president? Like I fear for the next Republican nominated president or candidate. Because, man, did they hate Reagan. And then did they hate Bush. And they really hated Bush Jr. I didn't think they could hate Bush Jr., anyone more than Bush Jr. And then Trump came along. Oh, my gosh. And that guy was a Democrat for the longest time. And if you look at his policies, not conservative. Like, spent more than Obama. Like, come on. The media just, and the people are stupid enough to believe it. It's not the media's fault. But the people are stupid enough to believe it. That guy's the devil incarnate. Okay. It was not enough that the radical liberals used BLM Antifa to terrorize innocent people and make violent threats against the president, his family, and his supporters, or even people questioning election integrity. It was not enough that radical liberals stole an election to stall the dementia-addled zombie and a cackling witch who are simply incapable of comprehending what is being done to the United States. It was not enough that they defunded police, eliminated cash bail, opened the southern border, and all but outright told criminals to assault, rob, and forcibly have bedtime not fun with innocent people with impunity. It was not enough that they censored, slandered, and fired scores of hardworking people, including military, police, firefighters, for using an experimental root beer float, which was now proven to have maimed and killed people, and in many cases proven to increase transmission risk and weaken the immune system. It's not enough. God, dude. Yeah, I'm glad I charged. It was not enough that they are selling out the United States to communist China while hysterically demonizing Putin of Russia. No, as for the past 20 years, stated plainly time and time again, he wants an end to hostilities with the U.S. Well, we didn't have hostilities with them until now. To stop expanding NATO, he is only attacking Ukraine after the U.S. not only refused to negotiate with him, but funded nonviolent neo-national socialist gangs who attacked pro-Russian Ukrainians. Now they're seemingly hungering for a shooting war and eventually a nuclear exchange with Russia, despite multiple credible sources, including ex-military officers, confirming the U.S. would lose in both a conventional and nuclear war against Russia. I think we're all going to lose that war. No, I'm no military specialist. I think we're going to lose all that one. It's clear that if what these people are doing resulted in the death of billions of people, they consider it a good deal if it brought them what they wanted. Having said this, my question, why? Just why? Are these people just so suicidal and nihilistic they want to kill themselves as a civilization and take everyone else on the planet down with them? Or do you believe there's something else at play here? All right. One, I know you're not a Gen X or older because you would have been much more calm about this. Your question is the satanic madness of the West. That's the title. So not that you would outright call Lucifer and saying there's supernatural forces behind this. But using that choice between is it Satan? Is there some kind of force behind it? You guys all have to understand this. I really ought to write a book, but I'll give you the short version of Cappy's grand unifying theory of laziness. It's not theory, it's the law. Okay. Nearly all of human behavior can be explained by laziness. And going way back, then the way we survive was by not expending excess calories of energy. Okay. You had to conserve your food. You had to conserve your energy. And so it is hardwired in everyone to be lazy. And I made the point before, you say, well, why are some people so hardworking? Because they are smart. They realize if they work hard and major in the right thing, they will expend less calories of energy over the course of their life than if they are some pie in the sky, wishful thinking, suburbanite princess. I just major in early childhood education and then maybe someday that. And you're not to mention you got government, everyone promising you and pushing you down that road and selling you laziness. So you're pushed down that road. But even people who work hard are lazy. They're just smart about well, if I go and put in the time now, 4 years of hard schooling, I'll have to expend less calories of energy overall because I'm not trying to find a job dealing with HR people. I can self-employ, things like that. And because laziness is, it was not key, it was critical. It is critical to survival. It is one of, I would say it probably even outranks the male sex drives in terms of biological drives, in terms of the power and strength. I'd have to sit and think about that. But people, the number one drive both men and women have, I would say together, that's the most powerful drive, is to be lazy because it's for their survival. Now, food is ample. You do some common sense thinking like, well, if I just major 2 years in this, a trade or something, I can enjoy a really good life. It doesn't matter. People are so, that's so ingrained to be lazy. And they're so terrified and cowardly of work because it might have led to death. These are real fears. That people put that unconsciously and consciously at still the number one thing when they make a decision. Now the question is, all right, are they smart enough? Let's remove the smart people, okay? Because they're going to work really hard because they know that's easier. All right. But then there's a moral question is, well, do I have the right to parasite off of others to survive? And the vast majority of people will. It doesn't matter if Republican or Democrat here. It doesn't. Now, of course, the Democrats lean that way. They've made an entire political ideology off of being lazy and being a parasite. The whole job of I don't mean the Democrat Party here, I mean all leftist parties, all democratically leftist parties are, the job is to come up with a reason and a rationalization that you shouldn't have to work. And this is where a whole sorts of, you pick from the menu that you're oppressed, you're disabled, you're disadvantaged, you need money, you need handouts, you didn't know, you just need to put the needle in your arm, you don't know, all this other stuff that advocates responsibility. And the whole point of why the Democrats or leftist parties in general, they're also like, they don't want to work a real job. Heck, there's a bunch of people trying to defend being bailed out of their student loans again. And one was this PhD gal who was in school in academia for 50 years. She had a PhD. She's like, well, I need my PhD bailed out. And I think the lady's like in her mid 50s. I'm sure, where was I going with that? Oh, just to show you how ingrained it is. These people are coming up with that's her entire profession, 5 decades in academia, to come up with a reason and a rationalization as to why they shouldn't work and why they're entitled to other people's money, right? And so the Democrat Party professors do, they get rich on why? Because they don't want to work. And that woman succeeded. You guys supported another boomer lady who got to play make-believe intellectual and whatever her PhD was in. Ocasio-Cortez, and all, by the way, Republican politicians, all politicians are guilty of this, your career politicians. And Joe Biden's the perfect example. That guy has been in office longer than I've been alive. He went straight from college to politics. That dude, at least Obama worked a year at a job. I'll grant him that, which still is nothing. Ocasio-Cortez done more than that. Biden's never worked. Why? Because it's lazy. That's how powerful it is. And if you think about kings and wars and all that, why'd you want to be king? Because you didn't have to work. Even though being a king back in the olden days was very dangerous. You get killed off a lot. People trying to bump. Why? Because they didn't want to work. They just want to be king. So the power to be lazy is very strong because it's directly to your survival. And for the most part, humans being the worthless, disgusting vermin that they are, most of them have no moral problem taking advantage and living off of other people, stealing people's time, enslaving other people. And if you have a reason or excuse or rationale, that just plays very well to human nature. And so what you're seeing here, like, how can they do this? How don't they know? There is a bigger, more powerful driving force that explains their behavior than the power or the logic or the reality that you see. Like, this is pretty stupid. And that is they are lazy. And now we could argue on a subatomic level, well, where are the causes? Well, fear of a life of labor. Okay, so fear and cowardice. All right. But from a biological genetic perspective, survival perspective, it's like it was your life or death. And so these people in a modern day economy can now afford to be career politicians, especially if you come from a rich family. You never have to worry. You could be a Pelosi, you could be a Biden, you could be a Trump, you could be a a Bush. But kind of how we talked about the perfect mental state with women, like you guys all want. Well, how can they think being overweight? I'll be very quick about this. Um, the theory, and I'm rapidly not even going to consider it a theory. I'm just going to call it a law because that what I see empirically in the road. You could tell girls close the wage gap. Okay, let's use that. How do we close the wage gap? Well, in the real world, you would major in engineering or STEM or fields of disciplines. Do women do that? No, they still major. Same thing. 12 years ago when I did the study, they're still majoring in worthless crap, roughly 2.5, 3 times to 1 to men. All right. So, and I've been for over a decade trying to close the wage gap more than anyone else by telling girls, well, stop majoring in stupid stuff and you close the wage gap. They don't want that. They want the perfect mental state. And the perfect mental state is that they can major in whatever they want, follow heart, money will follow, and they will still be able to close the wage gap and they will make money. Right. And what the main law of the perfect mental state is that at all costs, that perfect mental state must be maintained, even if it doesn't correlate or have any anchoring or tethering or abiding by reality. This is where cognitive dissonance comes in. I've gotten to the point where I say it's almost like a drug. Like you need to have that drug and you'll do anything, including ignoring reality. Ladies, you want to get guys? First, start by losing weight. That's the first thing 70% of women could do in the United States. You know that. I know that. It's logical. It's in their best interest. They don't care about what's in their best interests. They care about maintaining the comfort and ease of the perfect mental state. To the point now they're delusionally telling themselves big is beautiful. Oh, and all you men are wrong. You all are wrong. You see how powerful that is? Laziness is equally as powerful. That it blinds people to reality, or they may be aware of it, they don't care as long as they got theirs. And so, whereas you're looking at why don't politicians do what's logically, obviously in the best interests of the people, arguably including themselves, if that requires they have to get a real job, they won't do it because they too need that perfect lazy state. That's how crippling, that's how blinding laziness is. That's how powerful a force laziness is. So you could have the world burning around you and it will do A, B, and C. Doesn't matter. They need that. Otherwise, they'd have to admit they're wrong, and the guy might get not elected. Then they have to go work, not really a real job. But that's why, generally, very generally, you're seeing politicians and the right as well making stupid choices, being irrational because they want to maintain. They want to be king. They still want to be. Well, now it'd be an oligarchy. They don't want to work a real job. Now. Adding on top of that laziness, we also have to acknowledge the fact that the likes of Biden, Trump, Harris, even though she's a little younger, certainly the Pelosi's, these people have never lived in the real world. Like the PhD gal that was claiming that she needed a student loan bailout, and she's been a PhD for 50 years, a boomer that needs you millennials to bail her out of her student loans. Oh, and then coincidentally pay for her Social Security. So how did they get to that point? And the way you get to that point is you are absolutely coddled. You are a true and spoiled suburbanite princess from Edina doesn't even cut it. Doesn't come close. I mean, you got to be Hamptons, Sidwell and Friends, presidential. You have to come from the Bushes, or even the Clintons were a relatively new family. The Rockefellers. You have to have absurd, the Bushes. You have to have absurd levels of wealth. The Kennedys. And you have to never associate, interact with, or live in the real world. And so a lot of people think Joe has dementia, or he's old and losing. Well, he might be a little old and forgetful. I don't think it's that. I think if you look at his background, this is one of the most spoiled adult children in the United States alive today. I'm sure there's more spoiled children. I'm sure. Mark Dayton's a perfect example. But this guy's not a real man. He's never been a real man. He's always sucked off the teat of his father and his family. And it's not like the Prince and the Pauper. I guess the closest experience I've ever had to this was when I dated the Asian girl whose family was a billionaire. Mom and dad were cumulatively a billionaire. And I guess that would make her a billionairess. Not that she had $1 billion, but she was going to inherit the money. Where she lived in a gated community, had everything bought and paid for. This is the old classic story where I pulled up in my Gutless Cutlass 1985 Cutlass Supreme, and it didn't have a muffler. And I pulled up on the driveway, and the mom, literally from Asia, yeah, you park down there, you park down there. And I don't know if she hated me. Literally, I don't know, because I found out later she didn't like white guys. I don't know if she hated me more because I was white or I was poor. I don't know which one. I really didn't know which one. But regardless, the night and day difference between what this girl was expecting and what and yeah, she was hot. That's all I was, we were set up. And I remember going to Devani's and thinking like, this is a special treat. And I don't know if you guys got Devani's in your neighborhood. It's like a step up above Subway. But not a big step. This was not fine dining. But for me back then, when I was a younger, gosh, I don't know, 24, 25, something like that. This is a big, that was pricey. It's like, Devani's. I'm like, are you buying? Like, I'll buy. I'm a guy. Ha ha ha. Girls equal, but I buy anyway because I believe in traditionalism. Cappy was stupid one time too. Yes. But she and Perkins, which to this day I will defend Perkins no matter what Modern Life Dating John says. Perkins is a perfectly good restaurant. And I remember her like, oh, Perkins. And I'm like, what world are you in? Well, she was in the world of, she was a billionaire's kid. And she went on party boats. And was she I think she was the Timberwolves cheerleader, something like that. She was just from a completely different world. And she could just as well, she could not understand that I couldn't afford Devani's because I didn't have billionaire parents. I couldn't even fathom what it'd be like to live in that house. I'm like, dang, look at this. You parked down there, white boy. I'm like, oh, sorry, Mrs. Yang. The last name wasn't Yang. Sorry, Mrs. Kuwanta. Wah, 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 wah. My car didn't have a muffler at the time. Just wah, 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 wah. Park. Had the column parking thing. Column shifter. Oh, yeah. Oh, Cappy was he was a donkey effort. He was a cruiser. And I think it's the same thing here. You can't look. I know you visually see. He is the president of the United States. You see a old white guy with gray hair, and you immediately associate gray hair with presumed wisdom, that person might as well be in diapers. That is like a 3 or 4-year-old, and not just a 3 or 4-year-old, because you can't have normal 3 and 4-year-olds. That is somebody so few people can even understand, having that much of a genuine, in this use of the word, privileged background. And I think, wasn't it Obama? Even he was a little bougie. He was like, "Can you see the price of arugula? Who looks at the price of arugula?" These people are from an elite class. And in part of being from the elite class, they are so far removed from regular, normal, everyday working people who support themselves. And I cannot emphasize this enough. These are trust fund babies. They are not capable of logically, everything else has been taken care of. Like, Putin ain't no joke. He was a KGB agent, a judo champion. I mean, that guy is street smart. And here you have, I mean, I'd love to know Putin's opinion of Biden. He's got to be like, oh my God, just sit there, have a shot of vodka. Like, what do you got to be like shaking your head half the time, man. I bet you got to be like, I'm dealing with these idiots. He's talking to Macron, all these weak, pathetic, elitist trust fund babies who don't have a toe in the real world. And that's why they don't make the connection, like nuclear arsenal. How about selflessness, ethics, morality? They don't care. All they know is getting what they want, and the consequences be damned. And and then there's also an ego fix of running for political office. And I've made this distinction before. I don't mind the guy so much. I still mind a little bit, who just collects a welfare check and lives on the porch, and plays his video game and drinks his beer. What really pisses me off is when these people who are parasites get involved in politics and start lording morality and ethics and all that over the rest of us. And so you have not only inherent laziness, you have that combined with a removal from any anchoring, tethering, or aligned to the real world with these trust fund babies. Then you also have the fanaticism and delusion that they're going to save the world because they're egomaniacs. Yes, that's why they're removed from the world. That's why none of their decisions make any sense. Like, I don't. Now, keep in mind, this was Trump. I mean, and we go back, we could say it was Obama, and even starting with Bush. It's not an economic secret that printing off money causes inflation. But what do? We toppled the money supply since Obama. And this is Republicans and Democrats both, by the way. And people are like, oh, it's transitory. And you got to look at these economists at the Federal Reserve. Like, are you joking me? Are you joking me? Not only did you multiple increase fold the money supply, you eliminated the reserve requirement ratio so the banks can lend all that money back out. And you're all surprised housing and rent has gone up. You're thinking tuition ain't going to go up. You wonder why cars are so expensive. I mean, aside from chip shortages as well. But it showed, every economist knew that was the wrong move. Everyone, even Paul Krugman, they don't care. They want to make money. And if they get their checks, if they keep their jobs, they will sell all of you down the river. And then it will now be up to the media and academia to do what it does best. And that is rationalize, well, supply chain. How long is that going to last, guys? Evil Republicans, Bush, it doesn't take a lot of convincing for people who already got their genetics screaming at them to be lazy and parasite and find a boogeyman and blame them. So it doesn't take that much. Oh yeah, those people with that color skin or those people with that type of plumbing. You're right. I'm going to sit here and collect welfare because they're oppressing me. Isn't that a self-fulfilling prophecy? Shut up. So that's why it isn't Lucifer. It isn't Satan. It's just human nature and laziness. And one might argue, combined with tremendous economic growth brought to us by capitalism and technological advances, that has created dynasties and empires. Can you imagine, like, I don't know, was Bill Gates the one that says, I'm only giving my kids $10 million or something like that? Let's say Bill Gates was to pass on his inheritance. And instead of the Rockefellers, we'd have the Gateses, which I don't know anything about his children or if he even has them. Could you imagine how spoiled they would be and what evil they would wreak upon society. You could kind of see it with the Dayton family. Dayton, if you're wondering who Dayton is, Dayton was there was Dayton department stores, but more famously, his grandfather, I believe it was, started Target, and so that's the big family in Minnesota. And Mark Dayton is the grandson, I believe, not Ford the second. And sure enough, the dope, and he is a true, genuine dope. He decided he'd run for senator and then for governor. And Minnesotans, being stupid dumbasses that they are, oh, I recognize the name. You could have Bob Timberwolf or Frank Minnesota Vikings. Like, just change your last name. Minnesotans will vote for it. Like, oh, I associate with that there, don't you know? And so they voted this guy in, and he's a moron. He's a complete idiot. Even Waltz, which I disagree with politically, but at least that guy had a tethering. You could see there was Dayton, and he was replaced by Mark Waltz. Waltz is a current governor now, but he's actually worked a little bit in his life, and is nowhere near the dope, but still a socialist nonetheless. God, and I hate to say it, I'm kind of glad Waltz was in charge and not Dayton during the riots. That would have been. Anyway, so you could see just how ineffective and untethered from reality these people are. And that's why you have ineffective, if not horrible. And let's not forget ego. A lot of these people, it's about ego. Turd Flinging Monkey has a great thing. It's like the Democrats just won't take the L. Look at Trudeau. Like, instead of saying, all right, we'll get rid of the mask, what does he do? He starts stealing and shutting down people's bank accounts. He starts to enact emergency powers. And that's where you gotta, like, they have no, like, Trudeau Jr., he has no idea how the economy works in Canada, or any economy for that matter. Like, the Canadians need the truckers a lot more than you need Trudeau, because the truckers deliver the stuff, the food, the fuel. I don't know if you know this about Canada. It gets cold up there. You need fuel. But that's, and you kind of see this, like, we're going to put economic sanctions on Russia. We're going to stop Russian oil. Didn't you just shut down a pipeline? Did you just, like, put an ixnay on the fracking A? Okay, we'll see how this goes. But that doesn't connect, man. It doesn't connect. So I honestly don't think it's, what is it? Don't chart up the evil. You could chart up the stupidity. I think these people are that delusional. They're that inculcated from the real world. And enough of the, in this particular case, American population are also inoculated from the real world that they go and they vote in these people. Ooh, free stuff. Not your fault. The evil, whatever, patriarchy holding you down. Go ahead, major in this. Buy shiny bag. Go and do Sex and City life. You own it. Vote for us. Give us your money. We'll spare your feelings. Continue being lazy. Not your fault. Evil people over there oppressing you. Give us more money. Vote us in again. And to show you how powerful laziness is I wrote this book called How Not to Become a Millennial. I'm thinking, like, okay, look, this was the Hindenburg disaster. Like, this generation is so harmed and destroyed. Now we got the empirical evidence. We can show the Gen Zers. Look what happens when you listen to baby boomer Marxist leftist advice. You see this? You see this? You see your older brother millennial? Like, he's still living at home at 37. You see this utter train wreck called the millennial generation. Now let's learn some lessons from it. So now you Gen Zers could avoid this, but the millennials could hopefully salvage their life and make a comeback. No one bought it. No one cared. No one wanted to listen. Why? Because it's much sweeter to believe, oh, it was Trump's fault the millennials didn't. And Gen Zers go down the same path. I don't know. They'll come up with a new lie. Oh, is this reason? Not because you majored in English in an English-speaking country and went $250,000 into debt for a worthless law degree. No, that's not it. No, it was the disease. It was this. It was gas prices. It was anything but you. Just keep voting for me. So there. So I don't really believe it's. Dude, Satan doesn't have to lift a finger. It's just hardwired into human programming. Lucifer could just kick back and like, dude, he just has to sit there with the drink. Like, yeah, you go ahead, try and save him there, God. I'm just gonna sit here. No, you programmed him this way. I don't have to lift a finger. All you gotta do is let them produce so much wealth, they sit on their asses and they turn on each other. I'm taking the next century off. Ever since the welfare state came in, since the Great Society, 1965, Lucifer's job got a hell of a lot more easy. Like, well, it's like 100-year vacation for me. I'm out of here. See you guys. All right. So there you go. There's your thing. Let's go to the super chats. See if there's any super chats. Scrolling. Keep those doggies scrolling. Right. Apple Decade, $2. Nintendo Switch OLED rules too bad. Aaron never plays. I got a Switch. Just haven't played it in a while. I've been busy writing the latest book, which comes out hopefully in about a month or so. Shouting from the cheap seats, $5. Yo, dude, bro, one man's laziness is another man's efficiency. You are right about that. Man, I got to save energy so you can down brews and wings while watching the post game. Yep. See, and that's why I'm absolutely adamant about Operation Evil. I mean, if you guys want to make money, don't try and like sell people broccoli. Sell people ice cream. You don't try and sell a fitness program to women. You sell rationalization, reasoning, excuses. You tell them they don't need no man. Again, do I have billions of dollars? No. Does Oprah have billions of dollars? Yes. Do what Oprah did. Hat and Clogs, $2. 7 Deadly Sins for the win. 7DS. Yeah, just profit off of that, man. Send Tacos, $2. Tacos for the stream. Thank you very much, Send Tacos. I appreciate the $2. Hat and Clogs, $2. Food for food. Was that burritos and tacos and hot sauce? Kona Savage, $5 Canadian bucks. Remember the 80s when all the Christian housewives went on full attack against Dungeons and Dragons for being satanic? The good old days. Yep. I remember getting the crap kicked out of me in middle school because they told us anything with a pentagram was satanic because I went to parochial school. Aaron, you're not fair to Christians. Let me tell you how fair Christians were. So they say, I remember we had like a little class on signs of the devil. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that people 10, 15 years older than me were goading the religious right, doing the death sign and different witchcraft signs and all that. So I remember in middle school, I'm like, well, they're just satanic worshipers. And then, guess who gets the crap kicked out of them? Rightly so. But that's where Christian schooling gets you. Wow, I'm going to take them to private schools. It's not going to be better. It's not going to be better. The good old days, yeah. Lolita Loves, $2. Happy Friday. Thank you. Happy Friday. That's it. All right, there you go. Questions, answers, assholeconsulting.com. Link to my Amazon affiliate link down below if you got to do any Amazon shopping this weekend, which you do. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.